Once upon a time, only the best of the best players were priced at premium levels, but these days, it's not uncommon to hear the average player who displays just a little bit of talent going for ranges in hundreds of millions of euros and pounds. What's the cause of this epidemic, and what can we maybe do to stop it? Well, welcome to Money Talks. I am Anishilewo, Jimmy Anishilewo, and as usual, I'm here with our analyst, the money man, Ayola.
Hi, Jimmy.
So, Ayola, I'm going to ask you again, what did you bring for me?
Something very important.
Okay.
Something people pray for.
All right. If you say Alafia, I'm going to commit. I'm going to do something here on this side.
Okay, so if you don't want Lafia, you take peace of mind.
Ayola, if you were the owner of a club, would you ever sign a player for 100 million and above?
It's very, very unlikely because, I mean, when you look at the history of the transfer market, a total of 17 players have gone for 100 million euros and above. Right. That's from Gareth Bale, 101 million euros to Real Madrid, all the way to Neymar, 222 million euros to PSG. When you then take a closer look at who these players are, what they did, and how they fared at this club, it almost makes no sense to sign anybody for 100 million euros because apart from the likes of, like I said, Gareth Bale, who went for 101 million euros to Real Madrid from Tottenham, and also Cristiano Ronaldo, who also went for over 100 million euros, 170 million euros to be exact, to Juventus, and maybe Kylian Mbappe, who also went from Monaco to PSG. Very few of the other players can claim not to be flops. That's how bad it is. Because when you have someone like Lukaku at Chelsea, for example, or Coutinho at Barcelona.
Did Lukaku go for that price twice?
No, just once to Chelsea. Money was a bit less, but it was also a huge amount of money, and that also did not work out. And you have people like Enzo, like Caicedo, still finding their feet. Also, 100 million euro midfielders. It just does not make sense to pay that much money for any player at all. Only, 3 in 17, or maybe 4 if you include Paul Pogba, who also went to Manchester United for over 100 million euros.
I think the way down even ended, you can
still say that it wasn't worth the money. So you also look at Joao Felix to Atletico Madrid.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started on that guy.
The most expensive teenager in football history, over 120 million euros. And technically, he can go back to Atletico Madrid as a player tomorrow, and nobody will even know that he was there. So it really doesn't make sense when you consider that most players who move for above a certain amount of money end up being flopped.
In the olden days, let me just use that word.
Your teenage years.
I'm not that old, please. I'm not that old. I don't know why you people think so. Yeah, but in the olden days, players are not this expensive. Like even the most talented players, like if you were priced at that range of 100 million, everyone knew you were basically gold. But these days, look at Anthony. Bought for 80 million euros. How much did they sign? The Chelsea signed Mikhailo Mudryk. So it almost seems now like once you want to sign a player these days, once the player has shown just a little talent, you must be looking in excess of 50, 60, 70. So what exactly is the cause of, like I said at the beginning, the cause of this epidemic?
I think I won't say it's a problem, but the reason for it is that clubs are richer now.
Wow.
Both the buying clubs are richer, the selling clubs.
With more money comes more responsibility.
So both the buying clubs are richer, the selling clubs are also richer. And I think the latter is the more important part because in your teenage years, you had clubs.
You are older than me.
You had clubs that were desperate to sell players to, make bank and maybe, stay afloat even. Some players were sold because their clubs could not afford to keep them anymore. And when you are a buying club and you see that this club is in distress, like maybe someone is owing money now and they want to sell their TV to you, you're not going to buy it at the normal
rate. You will price the life. You will buy TV of 2.5.
Exactly. So that doesn't happen as much anymore these days. We look at a club like Brighton, for example. They were able to hold out for 150 million euros for Caicedo because they did not need to sell him. They were aware that he wanted to leave the club, but they were not desperate to sell him per se. And it's the same for clubs like Ajax as well. They were not desperate to sell Anthony. And even that was also technically a bidding war between, I think it was Manchester United and another club. And Manchester United,
other club, very lucky.
Manchester
very,
United
lucky.
ended up winning. Same thing with Mudryk, was between Chelsea or Arsenal.
Chelsea were very unlucky.
Chelsea got the raw end of the deal. But
emphasis on raw.
But the technicality of it is that clubs are not as desperate to sell their best players anymore, and they cannot be bullied into selling their best players with the same amount of money as before.
Yeah, all right. So now, do you think that it's the amount that these players go for that causes the weight of expectation that now makes them flops? Do they flop because they go for 100 million or more, or do they go for 100 million or more because they are flopped? Sorry, I just
it definitely plays a part because, for example, I would like to use Pogba as the example. He was one of the first players who people did not really agree with his transfer fee. Player like Cristiano Ronaldo, when he went to Real Madrid from Manchester United, Ballon d'Or winner, he'd done everything. But someone like Pogba was just coming up. So when he went for 80 million, people were expectant to see why Manchester United would pay this kind of money for someone who just had a few good seasons at Juventus. And then that dovetailed into the expectations on the pitch. So if Manchester United is struggling for goals,
they'll look to him.
They'll look to Pogba. Why hasn't Pogba scored? Did they not buy him for 100 million? If Manchester United is conceding goals,
why is Pogba not defending?
Look to Pogba.
I pity Florian Wirtz.
So
I pity Florian Wirtz.
You could also look at a player like Coutinho, for example. Now, before he arrived at Barcelona, he was a streaky player. He's not a player that would play 10 good games in a row. He might play 2 good games, 1 bad game, or 2 good games, 2 bad games. And at Liverpool, it was okay because how much did they sign him for? 11 million euros. So it was fine. And he was even a star. I mean, if he plays 7 good games and 3 bad games,
that's
acceptable. Great. It's not even just.
We know some players that play,
it's great.
7 bad games and 7 more bad games.
But then when he moved to Barcelona for 135 million euros, you could no longer say you have 2 good games and 2 bad games. You have to have 10 good games in a row, no matter what the situation is. So when that didn't happen, people started to look at him as a flop. That affected his mentality, and then the whole thing just became a terrible situation. Wow. So the pressure of going for that kind of money, because even if you are giving the exact same performance as before you were signed for 100 million euros, you've raised the bar of expectations on yourself, and people will now be looking to you like, bro, you are a striker, but why is your team conceding so many goals? They did not sign you for 100 million euros.
So, last question now. Which player would you say that you think right now is worth 100 million euros? Or which player do you think in the future will be worth 100 million?
Well, me personally, I don't think players should be moving for more than 100 million euros.
Well, we have found ourselves in that reality.
But, I mean, there are a couple of players whose valuations rise well above 100 million euros. Likes of Vinicius, Lamine Yamal, Florian Wirtz, actually. But the likelihood of most of them getting sold is not that high. I mean, Vinicius most likely will see out most of his career at Real Madrid. Same thing for Yamal. Same thing for someone like Mbappe, also at Real Madrid. So they may not get to be sold for that amount. But if there's someone who in the near future will be sold or will move to another club for over 100 million, I think it's Alexander Isak of Newcastle. His valuation is already over 100 million, and then the fact that it's going to be a Premier League club trying to sign him in maybe Liverpool or Manchester United, depending on who decides that they need a striker more. So Newcastle is not going to want to sell to a direct rival for cheap, whether or not Isak wants to leave, and he still has a reasonable amount of time on his contract.
I heard that they didn't even want to sell him, that they were trying to extend his contract.
Can you imagine Newcastle in, let's say, 2006 or 2005 deciding that they don't want to sell a player to Manchester United?
I'm begging you, please.
It's almost impossible,
please
because
take him. We'll pay you to take him.
When you put, at that time, maybe you put like 40-50 million euros in front of Newcastle and say, hey, we want your best player. They just say, okay, no problem.
In fact, they will send
someone. But now, Newcastle is playing in the Champions League.
Yeah.
They are consistently, or not consistently, but like more or less in the top 4 in the Premier League. So they are not poor by the standard, and they don't need your money. So they don't need to sell Isak. So if you are going to convince them to sell Isak,
Was give them a damn good reason. Yeah.
exactly.
All right. Well, according to Ayola, the only player that he reasonably sees going for 100 million right now or in the near future is Alexander Isak of Newcastle. What about you guys? What do you think? Do you agree with him, or do you have any other players in mind? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. I am Anishilowo, Jimmy Anishilowo, and this is Money Talks.